And we're live.
I'm interested in what you said with, you said like up till 30, you were rock solid. You never really had stress, anxiety issues. And then you did a bunch of mushrooms. Usually you hear like the Joe Rogan kind of crowd being like, oh, you got to do this to recenter and get your cheat. I don't know the language.
Upgrade your RPG character permanently.
Yeah, something like whatever Joe Rogan would say. So like, what you didn't experience that at all? Did you have a really bad time? And
I mean, I upgraded myself. I unlocked a whole set of feelings and emotions that I didn't know existed. But the problem is a lot of those are negative. So because like up until that, like I'm serious, I've never been depressed or I've never had anxiety. Like I didn't even have a concept of what was out or like anything like that. Basically just like, or go ahead. What were you saying?
No, so I was saying that's wild that you never experienced that. And then was it shortly after you did all the mushrooms you started to experience this?
No, it was like 3 months later, actually. I did, and it almost seems like maybe they were disconnected, but I have a hard time believing that. So basically I had one trip where I'd smoked a bit, I'd eaten some edibles, and I was like, okay, mushrooms must be like weed, I guess, maybe a little stronger. So I ate a stupid amount of mushrooms. And then I had like an unimaginably fucking insane, like life-changing, life-altering trip that is indescribable in any words that I can think of. And then 3 months later, I was downstairs and I was sitting at my desk. And I wish I could describe this better, but I'm sitting at my desk and I'm not doing anything. I have no stress right now. My life is fine. I'm thinking like doing emails or something dumb. And all of a sudden I just feel like this little like, oof, like this little tick. And I'm like, oof, that was weird or whatever. And I remember thinking exactly at that moment that I'd had a friend that had described panic attacks, and we make fun of him all the time for like, you're such a loser who gets panic attacks. I remember thinking like, oh my God, like, wouldn't that be funny if I was getting a panic attack after making fun of him for years for it? And then in the next second, I was like, yeah. And then in the next second, I was like, oh, something is happening. I wonder if I'm memeing myself into a panic attack. Like, this is really dumb. I'm going to just get up and go upstairs because something is happening. And then the process of me standing up and starting to walk up the stairs, this horrible feeling of dread just like washes over me. And I guess supposedly I was hyperventilating, but I don't remember any of this. I just remember walking up the stairs and feeling absolutely certain that I was about to die. I walked upstairs, I sat on my couch, and it was just the most horrible fucking feeling in the world as I just sat there like staring into nothing, like feeling like so absolutely fucking horrible. And that was like my first ever panic attack, set off by nothing, and just ugh.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
This doesn't sound like an upgrade at all to me. Like, I upgraded. I learned about weight gain and gray hair and weakness.
The biggest, I don't know how deep we want to run down the philosophy. The biggest upgrade that I got was in one part of my trip. So there's a feeling called, there's a term called ego death. And what ego death is that if you consume enough of certain psychedelic substances, what happens is that you kind of have like an operating system that runs your reality. And if you take enough of a certain drug, you can kind of break down your upper level associations with that. And it gives you the chance to kind of, I'm going to say, step back, but kind of like see like, oh shit, like everything I see normally in life is like super filtered through all of my senses or whatever. I'm trying to explain this in the least like super druggy jerk off way possible, right? But that's essentially what it is. Like imagine you're watching, like your whole life is looking through your phone, and then you have ability to like kind of like step like a foot back from that and see like, whoa, holy shit, like everything I see is like filtered through this experience, and now I'm breaking that down a little. And I remember that during that experience, there's one part where I'm kind of like sitting down on a couch, and throughout this entire 6-hour trip, I keep having the thought, I did way too many mushrooms. I broke through into figuring out what actual reality is. I wish I could just go back. This is so fucking horrible. I took way too many mushrooms. I didn't want to come here. I made a mistake. I'm actually not ready for the real reality. Which is
took the red pill.
I'm gonna go back and be fake. And the one thing that I took away from that trip was that kind of like very visceral thought. I'm a big like debate lord, brainiac, intellectual, whatever, like YouTube, whatever. Going into that trip, prior to that in my life, I always would have thought that like knowledge or intelligence is something that should be desired for sake of itself. Like knowledge is just good by virtue of it being knowledge. And then coming out of that trip, what I realized was, holy fuck, there might actually be some things that even if they're true, I don't know if I would actually want to know them. Like I prefer the fake reality of whatever this life is to the truth reality of like sitting in front of a TV that is the center of the universe that was like mushrooms. So maybe actually knowledge in and of itself isn't good. It's only knowledge that you can acquire that can make you happier. So that was like my big takeaway from that. This is going down a very far road, but that was like my big takeaway from that experience. Yeah.
I love it. Did you have a mushroom tour guide when you took it? Like I'm always told that if you're going to do something like this, you find an expert who makes sure your dosage is right, make sure you have a good experience. Did you do that?
I'm so incredibly arrogant. Okay. I just am very arrogant. My goal was I wanted to have the worst trip possible. So what I did was
All
there were two
right.
strangers and then a couple of kind of friends that I had, one of which was very persistent. I did it in an unknown environment. And then I took 3 times the recommended like big trip dose to just fucking blast my mind. Cause I was like, I'm probably just gonna get really high. And no, so I didn't have like anything like that. And it was it was the worst possible way that you could approach a trip like that. And because some people will listen to me describe it and like, oh, this sounds cool, like I should do it. If I would have more responsibly kind of dosed myself into having like good trips, I think I could have gotten all of the knowledge that I have now without like all of the horrible mental side effects that I seemed to suffer afterwards for at least a year or two. But yeah,
A year or two. So what would you call this, like 2017?
Fuck. I posted the video of my trip on YouTube somewhere, but I think it was a couple years ago. It was like 2018, 2019. So I'm about 2.5 years, I think, away from that experience right now. Yeah.
Wow. That's heavy.
But like every now and then I'll get like a bout of like, I guess so for some examples, there are 3 like distinct things I remember. So in one thing, I had a period of like 3 days. And now this might be where it feels bullshit because I'm tying this back to my mushroom experience. It might not be. Maybe it just randomly happened after I did mushrooms. There was a period of 3 days where I had like what I can only describe as like general anxiety disorder, like this weird general anxiety about the world. I am like a relentlessly confident person. The most I know, I feel very good about myself, my life, and everything. During this 3-day period, I still have the text log. I'm like texting my kid's mom saying like, hey, like, I need you to keep my kid away from me for the rest of my life. Like I'm a horrible person. Like don't ever let me see him again. Like, but like I was just like unbelievable. And even looking back on this, like what the fuck is happening in my head? And then I had another like very, very short period. It was like 2 or 3 days of like an experience of an absence of desire, which is actually the scariest fucking thing in the world. When you don't want to do anything and you don't have a desire to want to do anything. And I think that these 2 experiences gave me such a new perspective on mental illness. I had so much more respect for people that suffer with that on a daily basis. I've always been a person who it's like, hey, if you're prescribed an SSRI, do that in therapy. You should do whatever, you need to fix your problems, blah, blah, blah. But personally, I would never take an SSRI because like my mind is too strong for that. I don't want to change myself, blah, 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 blah. When I was experiencing like these 2 states, I would have fucking lobotomized myself or taken any fucking drug or done anything I needed to break that. Because like when you're, yeah, it was just a horrible, horrible thing. One of the takeaways I have of like the human mind is I used to think that like 10% of your brain is like this weird underlying, like subconscious mood shit. And then like 90% is like, these are your active thoughts. This is what you have control over. And I totally flipped that in and of itself, like to where now it feels like there's this whole under part of your mind that you are not really aware of. And then you think a little bit on top, but a lot of the credit goes into this lower stuff. And it does you well to understand that because you need to do what you can to fix that stuff rather than just like think like, oh, well, I can just be positive forever and blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Would you recommend it to people to try hallucinogens, or do you think it was a net negative, at least for you?
I would absolutely recommend it. I'm disappointed that I was 30 before. It's a whole other world. If you do psychedelics, and you should do them responsibly, but when you went on a big trip, it is just nothing will ever. It's like a whole other world. It's the closest it's unbelievable. It's unimaginable. It's unbelievable. It's nothing like being high. It's just like I can't explain it. I can't. For those that have done it, they'll know. And then if you haven't, like, it sounds really stupid. And I mean, like, I hope I'm
scary.
It scares the shit out of me. So, like, I feel like 18 out of 20, 19 out of 20 have my shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, you want to re-roll? I don't think so. That sounds like a bad idea.
I mean, it's not going to like change you completely. Like, I think I'm more or less the same. Like, if you watch videos of me now and 3 years ago, like I'm still this rambunctious, loud asshole, blah, 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 blah. It gives me more perspective, I guess, which is good. I think gaining more perspective is always a positive. So,
what do you know? Joe Rogan knocks it out of the park with his hallucination recommendations.
You know what?
He
likes stevia now. That son of a bitch was right about stevia.
Except shrooms aren't even as intense as he goes. Or I don't know the stack ranking of intensity, but he like talks about ayahuasca, which I think is cactus juice that you drink.
A lot of it depends. Yeah, a lot of it depends on dosages and everything as well. Like mushrooms or LSD can be very, very, very intense. Like I'm pretty sure a big mushroom or a big LSD trip can be similar to like a DMT trip, except mushrooms or LSD are worse because because those last 6 hours or 12 hours respectively. Whereas for DMT, it feels like a long time, but 15 minutes and you're in and out. But like, yeah.
Ayahuasca and DMT are not the same thing, right?
I think Correct. DMT is an extract from ayahuasca, isn't it? Am I wrong on that?
I wouldn't.
Oh shit.
Oh, maybe that's how they get it. I thought DMT was its own hyper intense.
They sound totally different.
Yeah,
I'm sure of it.
They are different. You know.
Okay, wait. I'm just now I would sound like full of shit if I said so. Ayahuasca contains large concentrations of DMT, around 80 milligrams per 100 milliliter infusion, and may cause visual hallucination. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So ayahuasca is much different. The experience is a lot different than DMT. Like I think this is like a day-long thing. You like purge from your body, you vomit and all this stuff to do like your big trip. Whereas DMT is generally smoked, and you do like 2 or 3 big hits, and then you have your huge breakthrough moment, and it's like 15 minutes in and out.
I have a couple
Kyle,
friends.
what was that drug we were watching, or all of us, we were watching a long time ago? This drug where people would go into the Amazon and they would like
That's ayahuasca.
Was that ayahuasca?
That's it. I have a bunch of friends that have done ayahuasca. It's oddly popular in the paragliding community to do like go places and smoke ayahuasca.
People with so much money, they don't know what to do.
Robin Quivers from the Stern Show did it. And she talks about just vomiting a lot.
There's that, but they come back changed, right? They're changed. They like, I have a new thing. I'm ditching social media. I have this broader outlook, love and peace, and I have discovered what life should be about and how persons should be. And now I'm that person. And then 2.5 weeks later, they're the old person.
Yeah. It's just all it
is. You need more ayahuasca.
Yeah, apparently you got to top it off every couple of weeks.
All it is a new perspective. That's it. You can go through it in a crazy experience, and in a week you can get back to normal. Or I like the way that I would describe it is like, imagine if you could go into a room and somebody could show you 5 new colors that you could have never imagined seeing before. Like that's what it's like.
That sounds appealing.
Yeah, but
I like colors.
Can't imagine that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm doing so well with the color palette I have.
I had a rough time on mushrooms. They caused a panic attack. It was just very stressful.
Yeah, but you went to Walmart. That was your bad.
I mean, that seemed like the best place to have a trip.
Oh, no,
he's not wrong.
Are you hungry on mushrooms or no?
The people there already look like monsters, though.
You want to be where the other people are tripping, I guess.
Look at these people; they're so hideous. Dude, you're not even tripping yet. This is Walmart.
We're only 5 minutes in, dude. Yeah,
yeah. It was.
And this is the kind of Walmart with a Cracker Barrel in the parking lot. So double dipping.
It has a Sonny's barbecue in the parking lot, actually, which is where we retreated to. It was our safe place.
You know, something with hallucinogens is you never hear about people, or at least I don't, you never hear about people getting addicted to them. Like someone who's addicted to LSD or someone that's addicted to ayahuasca.
No, one of the nice things about psychedelics is that like you can, when you do mushrooms or LSD, those are the 2 I have experience with, or I imagine it's probably the same for DMT and other types of hallucinogenics. Like when you do those and then you're done, you're like, oh, all right, glad I did that. It's not something that it's like, I got to do that again and again and again. It's just not that type of thing. I wish I could describe it better. It's hard to say. It's kind of like, I don't know if I compare it to like swimming across like kind of a scary river. Like it's the water's moving, not so much that you're going to die, but like if you fuck up, maybe you will. And there's like a waterfall over there. So you swim across the river and you make it to the other side and you're like, oh, fuck. Like, that's awesome that I made it. I'm really glad I did it. I had a lot of fun. It was kind of scary. I don't need to do that again and again and again. Like I'm good on that. Like generally people will do it and then maybe like 6 months later, a year, they'll do it. But there are some people who will do like every week.
Repeatedly. That sounds like, I would, swimming across dangerous rivers. Like, I don't know. Defying death. I do that.
How funny would that be?
If you want to feel like
addicted to shrooms,
the big mushroom experience, then that might be for you. The thing that I said over and over again while I was tripping, especially in the beginning, next to the guy on the couch, I was begging him over again, like, please don't let me die. Don't let me die. I think I'm dying. Please don't let me die. I said it like a million fucking times. So if a death-like experience is what you're looking for, ego death, literally, you'll have the feeling of being dead. That's really hard to explain, but yeah.
That sounds so scary. Yeah. So could you see yourself like, I know, Kyle, you can't. Everybody's begging for drinking episodes because it's been years because of your situation.
It pains me.
And I know, Woody, you hate drinking more than anything in the world. Maybe next time Kyle and I'll drink, you can do a shrooms.
No, you're fucking.
You take shrooms over there. Kyle and I'll drink here. We'll kind of steer the ship.
You made it worse.
We could, I think they're legal now in Washington State or maybe Oregon. Somewhere up there, like shrooms are legal.
They're legal everywhere if you're sneaky.
No, Taylor, I'll do shrooms if you do battery acid.
So yeah, I'll do shrooms if we go.
I'll just get very sick.
If we go to where mushrooms are legal, I'll do mushrooms. And obviously, if we go to where pot is legal, I'll just get crazy high. I'll take 1,000 milligrams of edibles and just melt down on the show. I don't care.
Would that not be the worst show ever? Like, this is the sleeping episode?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna say some things.
No, it'd be
Okay. I don't know. You would. I don't know.
Weed impacts you like it hit, like booze hits other people. You're just like, and another thing. It's like, hey, did he drink anything? No, he's just really stoned.
Let me
He's
tell you
just
how I feel
he's just
about
a genuinely
Egyptians.
mean man.
just really weird racism. Let me tell you how I feel about Estonia. Oh, no. I'm started now. Forget not getting me started. Those Estonians.
I've always thought about like doing like a psychedelic stream would. I always think like maybe it'd be fun, but the reality is it's not really the same from the outside as it is on the inside. So basically, you'd be like sitting there on camera, like with your eyes going wide, and no one would have any fucking idea what's going on. It's very, very internal, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been around people when, like in a babysitting scenario, not that I chose to babysit, just that I didn't do any, and they were on shrooms. And I remember like thinking about it. This was in college. The first time I'd been around a bunch of people doing shrooms. And I was like, this is going to be wild. This is like Harold and Kumar style stuff. Like silliness is on the way. And it's like, no, they spent an enormous amount of time staring. And then one of their sober friends got them in his like SUV with a moonroof. And they're like, we're going to the gas station to get sodas. They were gone for 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
Oh
and
my God.
Like,
yeah.
they wouldn't let me stop the car. They kept saying we have to keep going.
One time I was at my girlfriend's house, and she had gone to work. So it just meant like it was going to be a lazy day for me because I didn't have anything going on. Mm-hmm. I'm at her house all alone. And I think I got it in my head. I don't remember what I was going for. I think I wanted to go to Best Buy and either buy her a new TV because I felt like her TV was too small for me. She didn't want a new TV. She was like, no, that's the perfect size for this room. And in my head, I'm just like, fuck you. You need a bigger TV. I need a bigger TV in your house. We'll swap them out when I'm not here if that's what it takes, but I need a bigger TV. So I just get crazy high. Like I hit the bong like 8 times in a row, just filling it up and emptying it out like as fast as I can. And I'm quick. You know, if you see me reload a gun, you know, I'm pretty. I've done it enough that I'm. All right, we're good to go.
That's how quick on the draw with the bowl. Reload.
You can't imagine how quickly I can reload a bowl. All right, it pales in comparison to anything I can do with a firearm. And so I stumble out the door, just blasted, hop in my car, and at the time I had I didn't have like visual navigation. I had that OnStar shit, so I was just like, OnStar, take me to Best Buy. And I guess I missed the part where she said the nearest Best Buy is like an hour and a half away because I thought it was right next door. So like next thing I know, and I do mean the next thing I know because time is a little warped when you're that high.
Yes.
I'm 30, 40 miles from her house on Interstate 285, which is a circle that goes around Atlanta. And I'm just like, the fuck has happened here? I'm like, I press the button that tells me how much longer is left in my drive, and it says 2.5 hours. And I'm like, oh no, I've agreed to go to Tennessee. I'm like, OnStar, take me to the nearest Best Buy. And I start going again. 4.5 hours. I got home. I never made it to Best Buy. I never made it.
Just
went the wrong way on the circle.
I drove for 4.5 hours touring Atlanta. I know Atlanta. There's no reason for me to go on a tour. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been there before. It's the aquarium. And just around and around the circle I went. I must have done a couple laps around 285. Ridiculous. I got home so afraid. I'm just sitting there in her living room like, never doing that again.
It is unreal how much pot messes with your time perception. Like sitting in Colorado, we were all playing Magic, like sitting and looking in between games, or like during a game, it'd be like you'd have that thought in your head where it's like, have we been playing Magic for 40 minutes or 10 hours? And like you'd look up and be like, oh, all right, 5 hours, kind of in the middle. And it's like, well, but that's troubling because if I would have looked up and seen that 52 minutes had passed, I'd be like, right on the dot. Like, it's so weird. You don't feel like it in the moment.
when you do high doses of psychedelics, it's that times a million. It is unreal how much your perception of time is like tied into other systems that you don't know are running all the time. So I'm so glad I recorded my trip, because watching back some of it, knowing what I experienced during the trip, and then watching myself on the video was crazy. So at one of the moments that I have during this trip is so psychedelics tend to like kind of come and go in waves, where you'll start to feel it, and then you'll kind of come out of it a little bit. You're like, oh, I think I'm done, and then oh no, I'm not done, right? And I think it was either towards the middle or maybe middle endish, there's a part where like I feel like everything is normal again and I'm kind of sober, and then I'll like slide back into this fucking world in my head. And it feels like when you would like go back to being high, you'd be stuck in these areas in your mind for like, I'm going to say like months at a time, but it's hard to quantify, days, weeks, months. It's like an indeterminable, like a massive amount of time is passing. And I would have a friend that was like the Recfall, another streamer guy. He was part of the thing tripping with me. He would like shake me to be like, wait, what's up? What's up? And I'd come back and like, oh my God. And I was like, don't let me go again. I don't want to go again. And he'd be like, where are you going? And then I would slip back for like weeks or days. And then I would wake up to him shaking me again. He'd be like, yo, where are you going? What's happening? And when I watched this back on video, because I wanted to see this part, I was like, oh, when he was shaking me, like, I wonder how long I was like really out for. It was like this. I was like, oh man, I don't know. Oh man, I don't know. It was like 2 seconds. And I was like, oh my God, it's unbelievable. Or if you ever do psychedelics and you keep like a phone next to you, which I think you're not supposed to do, but I do it every time. You can sit and stare and be in an area, and you're like, okay, I started my mushrooms at I think 9 o'clock. And I know they should be done at 6 hours. So I know by like 3 o'clock, I should be pretty sober again. And I think it must have been like 4 or 5 hours. And you'll check your phone. It'll be like 9:01. And you'll be like, oh, fuck, I'm fucked. Oh my God. And like you'll lose track. So it might be like 9:20. And then maybe you check your phone in like 3 more hours and you look and your phone is like 9:18. You're like, oh God, what's happening? Like, oh no, I'm fucking stuck forever. And it's like, oh my God, it's so incredibly scary. Holy shit.
The way you describe it is horrifying.
Yeah, it is. You should do it. God, it's so exciting. Maybe I'm sadistic, or is it sadism? It would just masochistic. Yeah. Well, no. Now I guess I'm a sadist. I'm telling you to try. It. It's super duper fun. Holy shit! But not a real guy knows. You're responsible.
Fuck. Maybe we'll all go to Seattle and get uncomfortably high and record the worst episode in history.
I'll go. I'm down.
I'm just gonna be a square and
that would be funny to put us all in like a Marriott room and we all are on.
Let's take it up a notch, all right? Like mushrooms aren't hard. Like,
what if I can do better impressions on mushrooms?
No, here's what we do. We mix something that me and Taylor like with something Woody likes. We get high as fuck on mushrooms, then we go skydiving.
Oh, man. Yes. I thought it was gonna be a substance I like you open. No. Like, this is clearly just sugar. Like, what the fuck?
We pick the substance, you pick the activity. Then next time you pick the substance and we pick the activity. That way it's fair.
Yeah, but Woody doesn't want to pick any substance.
Exactly. That's why it's not fair.
Why are we doing sugar and playing magic, man?
Like, Woody, I'm so goddamn tired of you picking caffeine. My heart palpitating and I'm stressed out. I don't like it.